Welcome to the podcast. My name is Father Bill W. I'm an Episcopal priest, and I live here in Austin, Texas. I've had the gift of recovery since December the 27th of 1972. And the idea behind these podcasts is to try to go a little bit deeper into the history, the spirituality, and the psychology that underlie the 12-step journey that I hope most of you are well on your way traveling down that road. And if you like what you are hearing here, please do me a big favor and hit the subscribe button and the like button and ring bells and beat drums and all that good stuff. Make a donation if you can. But most of all, tell a friend. By all means, keep coming back. We are now into the fourth episode of a series that addresses a subject that really should be of interest not only to our female listeners, but to men as well. We all have that inner feminine that needs some developing. So it's a book titled Out of the Woods, A Woman's Guide to Long-Term Recovery. And I have put a link to it in the show notes. And here to lead us in a discussion is the author of that book, Diane Cameron, coming to us from Albany, New York. The home of, who is it? Who's our buddy up there?
Abby Thatcher, family.
The home of Abby Thatcher. It's good to have you back, Diane. Diane's a journalist, a columnist, author, recovery coach, and a woman herself who is in long-term recovery. We have two topics that I want to cover in this episode. The first is your chapter titled, Take This Job and Love It. Why'd you include this chapter in your book, and why love it rather than shove it, which is the traditional one?
For many of us, right, before recovery, we were the kind of people who said, take this job and shove it. Like we brought our alcoholic pre-recovery attitude to the workplace. We were not your best employees, right? We might have been successful. We got promotions, or we pleased people enough, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We had good skills, no question, but we weren't the best employees. We weren't generous. We weren't of service. We thought about that job serving me. Many of us went into our jobs like, what can you do for me? And it is a radical shift to say, can I be of service in this job? Which then is, can I love my job? Can I want to go to work? What a radical idea on a Monday morning.
Yeah. You write about taking our recovery principles then, the ones that we learn in the program, and then carrying them with us into the workplace. So tell us what you're getting at there.
Kind of on two levels. I realized pretty early on, and maybe other folks do, especially like introverts or maybe folks who are shy, which are two separate things. I always have to say that. We learn in meetings to raise our hand, to speak in front of others, to stand at a podium and speak to a room. We learn how to network. We literally learn how to network, right? So we can take those skills into the business world. We can become less inhibited in those ways. But the other thing that kind of gradually dawned on me and dawns on many of us is I can take these principles of honesty, of service, of helping others into the workplace. Radical, really radical ideas. Instead of competing with my coworkers, can I help them? Can I share information? Can I fix her computer for her? Can I show somebody, what I learned? I can admit I didn't know how to do something. I learned how. Let me show you how I learned to do XYZ. That is part of our job. That purely came out of recovery. It's like working, the sponsor tell you, like, this is how you work that step. This is how you be a married woman. This is how you be a friend at work. Say, this is how to be a coworker. This is how to do a specific part of your job. You learn there's a generosity of spirit in that. And not every day, because we're human beings and it takes a long time. But like early in recovery, when you realize you're starting to do these things in the workplace, it's a surprise and it's pretty radical. Right? And people notice. They may not know where it's coming from, but it's like they know something is different. And you know something is different.
Yeah. Our job is to be of maximum service, and that doesn't limit itself to just when I'm at a 12-step meeting.
Right. And
Yeah.
one of the other things that we realize, we've read this in articles and whatever, we spend, when we're in that age group, we're spending most of our time at work, right?
Yeah.
Our 24 hours are divided into work and sleep at home, but a lot of those hours are in the workplace. And so that's where we need to practice recovery. That's where we need to be sober, recovering people and learn about ourselves. That's where we're going to see our character defects, boom, right out of the gate, right?
Which brings us to our next topic. In the subsection, you have titled Success and Failure. And maybe that's what you're getting at when you're talking, that I'm going to fail. And that isn't the end of the world.
Right. I can learn something about myself. Conceiving this here, but I've seen this happen. People who maybe had a lot of failure in their sobriety, they lost jobs, they damaged a lot of things. They're going to have the experience of being successful, of getting a job, of staying on a job longer than they ever expected. They didn't think they could, of not running away when something was difficult at work.
In that part, it's accumulating small successes as you go along. And that's very important.
Learning to be of service at work. If you have a good organization, good supervisors, when they see an employee who is, and they don't know why, is of service to others, is helping their coworkers, is raising their hand, is staying after 5, that's the person who's going to get the promotion. That's the person who's going to be invited to be on the special committee, right? That those recovery behaviors are actually going to give us something. But there may also be, and I was kind of one of these, who had a lot of successes or promotions I didn't deserve, in a sense, early in while I was using. And then I needed to know what it was like to make a mistake and stay in my chair, to make a big goof at work and own it, go to the boss and say, I did this, here's what I'm going to do about it, right? And not have to submit my resignation immediately, because I was a runner. I wanted to run away. As soon as I felt bad or felt criticized, if I made a mistake, I'm out of here. And I had to learn to stay in my chair.
Yeah. Don't run. That was those are my 2 big instructions from God when I got sober. Don't drink and don't run.
Wow.
And I think the don't run was equally important.
Yeah. That we can stand it, that we can stand all those feelings that we needed substances to not feel before.
Right.
Whether they're good feelings or bad feelings, we couldn't stand to feel them.
Right. And so it's to go through the experience and let it have its effect on us.
Right.
I think this is probably where that one day at a time thing is so important.
Right.
I can get through this day. Maybe that's all I can do.
Right. And I think that's a lot of recovery is, I don't know how to do the tasks that I've been assigned or as part of my job. And it's like, well, I'm going to learn it today. And it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to be kind of messy at it. Maybe I'll share with others, but for the first time, I'll tell coworkers, I don't quite know what I'm doing here, but I'm going to try. Or to say to my boss, I know you want me to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to do it. I'm not completely sure why. I might need some help. Can I come and check with you? How honest is that? That I didn't even think was part of a workplace relationship. To say, I'll try. Can I check with you?
This being human is a whole new gig, isn't it?
It's crazy.
You're right that fear keeps a lot of us back from really becoming who we are, fulfilling all of our potential. Did you face this in your life, and have you seen a lot of women dealing with this in recovery?
I have seen a lot of women, men too, but you get to see the women, you get to hear the women, see them up close. For me and for others, I think it's tied to perfectionism. Like, Diane, can you do this task? Can you do this job? Well, in my head, if I can't immediately imagine doing it completely and perfectly, then I'm either going to lie to you, I'm going to pretend I can do it, which is at risk for the organization if I attempt something I don't really know how to do. But I want to avoid that, right? I'm afraid that if it's not going to be perfect, I'm not going to try, which I think can then lead to not accepting important tasks, promotions, new things, You think about like the childish thinking in that. How would you learn to read as a little kid a chapter book if you haven't learned to read a picture book? Like you've got to begin at the beginning.
You know, I hear the expression all the time. Maria had so much potential, but they never fulfilled it.
Right.
And so we wind up being frustrated, living lives of desperation, as one of the poets, I think, put it.
And also jealous when we see other people that we think are doing what we were meant to do or could have done, if only, then we resent them. We project all of our grief and our fear onto them, and we attribute, bad characteristics to them when really our fear held us back. Let me tell you a writing story. This happened to me probably 6 months before I got sober. So I was very bad off, looking okay on the outside. And I went to,
of course,
like a holiday weekend, and it was one of those mystery weekends where everybody in the place is part of a mystery story. And this is the Mohonk Mountain House in upstate New York. So at dinner, first night, you sit around these big tables, very nice, and you introduce each other. And people said where they were from and what they did. And there was a younger gal, kind of a little bit younger than me at that time, sitting across the table. And when it got her to be her turn, she said her name and she said, "I'm a writer."
Mm.
And people said, "Oh, what have you written?" And she said, "Oh, I haven't written a book yet, but I'm working on it." And I must have turned red and pale and green, and I hated her so much. How dare she? How dare she call herself a writer in public when she was like, just starting out? And I realized into my recovery how much she was saying out loud what I wanted and hadn't told anybody yet. And so in my recovery to write a newspaper article, to later write a book, was that fear moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And people should know, especially if you're a writer or creative of any kind, the fear doesn't go away, right? You learn as a writer to write with the fear.
Actually, if the fear isn't there, be careful.
Yes.
You've probably inflated and think you're a wonderful writer.
Right.
Rather than in need of help from the muses.
Right. It's kind of like actors will say this, like they're not afraid of stage fright. If they don't feel stage fright, they are nervous because they know stage fright is going to get them like to the right place, to the right edge.
Gives you energy.
Yes.
Yeah. We introverts need to learn this stuff. Speak for myself anyway. I mean, the inside and the outside were very different worlds.
Yeah.
Very different energies.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen this over and over, and it's so amazing in recovery. Woman that I know well, been in recovery with for years, her secret wish, she wanted to be a photographer. One day she cried and blurted this out, and she was like, "I'm going to take a photography class at a community college." And she was so scared. And somebody in the room said, "Yeah, the first thing you do is you lift up the camera like this and you go like that. And you take one picture." And she went to this community college class and she did well. Well, 40 years later, she did all kinds of international work as a photographer. She got her PhD. It's all from crying out her secret and having people around her who say, good for you, take that picture, take that class, be a beginner. Let yourself be a beginner.
In recovery, we need to get in touch with the things that we were afraid to do. And that maybe drink gave us the courage to do it, but we were doing it falsely.
Yes.
And now to do it sober and sanely, and facing the internal fears. Yeah. Now that's the process.
Yeah. A lot of us grew up in families where it wasn't okay to say, "I want to be a photographer, I want to be a writer, an engineer," or whatever. We were pressured by what the parents wanted, or they didn't see us at all. So there was nobody to tell your childhood wishes to. Mm-hmm. And so you have to recover from that in recovery as well.
Right, yeah. Let's talk about identity with work, because a lot of us, both men and women, We draw our identity from what we do rather than who we are.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
I have been a prisoner of that very much. I had a long career in the nonprofit world. And, like you have an entry level job, and then you look up the ladder and you see that title and you see that person. And I remember this is early in recovery, working in a job, and like the boss, 2 layers above me, a woman, lovely woman. I saw her title and I saw that she wore really pretty clothes and pearls. And it was like, that's what I want, the outsides. And that's what I wanted as the identity. I hadn't thought through all the things she had learned and done and the mistakes she had made and overcome in order to become a person. But I think that like we close that gap by being in recovery. We begin to learn something good and bad about our insides. And then we begin to blend our outsides and our insides. So I thought the best way to get her job was to dress like her. So I went out and I bought suits and I bought all that stuff because I was trying to fix me from the outside. And then the inside identity had to come along with doing the steps, with doing recovery work, with doing therapy. Like, who's really in Diane? Who's behind those pretty clothes?
Right. I'm thinking as you're talking, it's the persona.
Oh, very much.
The mask, the image, and the shadow part, the hidden part that is in our unconscious minds, but hasn't been made conscious.
Yeah.
And so we got to go through that process. If you're going to become whole, you've got to integrate those two.
Right. And it takes a long time, which is hard to hear early in recovery, right? Because you can see across the room that person with 15 years or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, how do I get there? And if somebody says to you, you keep coming back here and you do this work and you talk to a sponsor and you develop your spiritual life central piece, right? Of finding your real insides, of finding out what you were born to be. What did your higher power create you for? What work does your higher power create you for? And that's a kind of surrender, right? Here's my idea of what I think I should be. And then people are saying, but your higher power invited you here to do something else. Are you going to let yourself accept that gift? The gift that something bigger and wiser than you actually has a plan for you? Yeah. Shocking. We have this term imposter syndrome, right? Which I know men have it, women have it in spades. We talk about it a lot. And we talk about it as something like you need to get rid of that imposter syndrome. You think you're pretending. Yeah. But I think really under it, there's part of us that actually at a very deep level knows we are an imposter in that deeply spiritual way because we're not doing the thing we have been sent here to do. So there is a kind of truth in imposter syndrome. We're feeling a glimmer of something.
Right. We need to wake up, and then we need to be responsible, and then we need to have the courage to go forward and fail,
and stand that.
Yeah,
and stand it.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the gifts that you're giving us in two-way prayer is many of us have had along the way we've had insights, we've had glimmers, we've had that still small voice here and there, and it's been very helpful and turned us this way and that way. But two-way prayer is a way to activate it, to say, not just wait till it occasionally drifts by, but to say, I will put myself here in the presence of a higher power and ask and listen. Because the listening wasn't part of before.
No.
We occasionally caught a fleeting thought flying by.
Right, yeah. Got hit over the head with it.
Right.
Right. I just can't believe it got left behind. And that's what the thing that grabbed me was your job. The main part of your job, this came up over and over again in my two-way prayer, was your job is to bring this out to people. Got a background in history, worked in the field. It was just a fit.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't faithful to that, I was going to pay a heck of a price.
Right.
So
you were prepared.
Yeah.
to write this book.
Yeah. Yeah. Which brings us to the 10 Commandments. And we ain't going the Moses route here, but you got 10 short workplace commandments that you've taken seriously, and could you run us through those very briefly?
I will. I opened my book here because I want to tell you why. Tell you where they come from. So these are my workplace 10 commandments. Right. Number 1, praise and blame are all the same. Because I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that praise could be as dangerous as blame if I attached my ego to it. If somebody praises me, that's very nice. Say thank you. If they're blaming me, find out what my part is and say thank you. But they're equal. So I'm not searching for one or the other. Number 2, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, right? The people over in the corner gossiping, the coworker who doesn't like me, the mail machine doesn't work. It doesn't matter. Know why I'm here in this workplace to be of service. The other stuff, at some level, doesn't matter. And number 3 is the big one, be of service. Can I go to work every day and be of service? And it might look differently. It might be, write a beautiful newsletter, and it might be help a woman crying in the ladies' room, right? Whatever that service is going to be put in front of me. If I'm present enough to be aware, in that individual day. Number 4, also hard to learn. It's not about me. Whatever's going on, it's not about me. That there are other human beings with their own stuff in the room. Somebody's being snarky in the meeting. It's probably about her. It's almost like traffic. Somebody has cut me off. It's not about me. It's about them. A story in the news about the company I work for. It's not about me. I don't have to defend it. Do the tasks and detach is one of them. And that took a long time. Like, do my work responsibly. Don't shirk. Don't over try to please, but do the job. You kind of know what that is. And now detach from it. And again, all this is one day at a time. It's like today, how did I do that? Pretty good job. Could have done that a little bit differently. But I did a decent day. Now go on to the rest of my life.
Al-Anons have an advantage with that, do they not? Versus the AA. I think you're in both worlds. This detachment with love.
With love.
Yeah.
Right. I went to some Al-Anon meetings in Baltimore, which are known as the Black Belt Al-Anon. And it was ladies primarily who were still married to their active alcoholic. They were smart women. And they understood detachment with love. They didn't understand. I mean, one woman gave the example. She said, here's detachment with love. You're leaving for your Al-Anon meeting, and your husband has come home. He's drunk. He falls on the sidewalk. You step over him and go to your meeting. I was like, that's detachment. She said, detachment with love is you go outside, your drunk husband is falling on the sidewalk. You go in the house, you get a nice blanket, you put it over him, and you go to your Al-Anon meeting. And there are versions of that apply in the workplace. Right. Especially, work. One of the reasons workplaces are important for recovery is they're full of people. They're full of human beings with all kinds of stuff. So you're going to have every kind of interaction, every kind of conflict, every issue of yours is going to show up in the workplace. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it with sanity, with serenity, with sobriety, and do that? Number 6, I don't need to be important or in the know. And this is one that requires some discernment, because I would, in some jobs, feel like I got to know what that meeting is in my boss's office. I got to know the decision my boss is making before he makes it. It's like, not really my business. Once you make the decision and it impacts my department, then I need to know. I don't need to know now. But, also save that energy, the energy that I'm putting into minding other people's business. Save that for my recovery. Getting along with everyone. This took me years. Every workplace has that employee who gets along with people, who's really nice, who fixes the copier, who helps you out, who, shows you how the microwave works, who's really kind. And everybody right away, they know who that is in their workplace. And I thought, how do you be that person?
Right.
And be decent. Don't gossip, don't steal the paper clips, help the person who can't make their printer work. You can become that person, be that employee.
And you failed a lot on your way to this, eh?
Oh, I have all the don't examples.
Good. Good. Yeah.
Right. You know why?
Mhm.
Because I showed up. It's like geographic care. I showed up in every job. My whole self showed up in every job. So the scared girl showed up, the jealous girl showed up,
Right.
the insecure girl showed up, and
Right.
acted out until I got more recovery and began to change those things. Probably
Good.
the marker moment when I was able to fairly quickly own a mistake, then I knew something, because my first reaction is like, I didn't make a mistake. She made it.
Right.
He made it.
Right.
They made it. The computer made it. Or
Right.
now I'm going to hide. I'm either going to leave the building. We're going to go to the ladies' room. I'm going to avoid my boss for a week. And pretty soon, the day that I was able to say, oh man, I made a mistake, and walk over to my boss's office and say, uh-oh, I got some bad news. I made a mistake. And I think
Yeah.
this is what's going to happen. And here's what I can do. And here's what I can't do about it. And it was like, who is that woman? It just
Yeah.
thought like that.
It's moving towards maturity, emotional maturity.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
I missed the boat.
and learning those things. Be an employee who doesn't have issues, right? We all have issues. It's given. But you don't need to have your issues at work. And this is kind of like the common office gossip. We're pointing the finger at so and so. She has issues. She has this issue. He has that
Right.
issue. And like, yeah, you have yours, but you need to take yours to your partner and your good friends and your recovery group and your sponsor.
Right.
They don't belong in the workplace. And they're related to that. Feel what I feel, but don't talk about it at work.
Mhm.
I don't need to talk about people that I don't like at work. I can tell my best friend, this person I work with, good grief. Don't talk
Right.
about it at work. It's not going to help the work.
Mhm.
And then number 10, surprise, surprise, do my work. Actually do my work at work. Right. It was like, takes a long time to learn. Just like, you're here to do your work. That's why they're giving you that paycheck. That's what's different about this entity, is they want you to do a certain kind of work of a certain kind of quality and take a paycheck and smile and congratulate everybody and go live your life, but to learn to do your work instead of coming in with like, how can I get out of it? How can I do less? Right? How can I do her job instead of my job?
Good set of commandments. Thank you for that.
Well, and I got that on a retreat, and I would suggest this for the people. Woman said, write your own, write your 10 commandments. So somebody
Right.
else may have different issues that pop up in the workplace.
Exactly. These are the ones that applied for you.
Right.
Helpful for you. Nice.
Right.
You talk about in this chapter taking the geographical cure, and sometimes in the program it's very negative, huh? But we can also stay stuck in situations, stay stuck in jobs when it might, in fact, be time to move on.
Yeah.
How's that worked for you?
I think this is a really biggie, and this requires some sponsorships, some mentorships, and recovery community, because discernment, here's our spiritual word, it requires discernment. And it requires now that I have two-way prayer, like what a tool for discernment, because we're told early on, the first thing is somebody's sober 2 months and they want to move to Houston. And it's like,
Right.
and the joke is I moved to Houston and a week later I show up, right? I'm going to bring myself with me.
Right.
Now, as you're progressing in recovery, so we get that. Like, I can't make any changes. I can't change apartments. I can't change jobs. I can't change any cars. I can't change anything that's bad. Don't do that. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but over the years in recovery, we're learning of interests of ours, of places we've always dreamed of living, of opportunities. And we think, ooh, if I do that, is that a geographical cure?
Right.
Or am I genuinely being called? Right. So now, using the tool of two-way prayer, it's like, let me try that a couple of days and see what the messages are, and are they consistent? Because I think the other thing in this is, we have our childhood stuff, and we always thought we were supposed to be a teacher. We always thought we were supposed to be a dancer or whatever, because we pushed down some other intake, some other thing. And now it's in a healthy way, making its way to the surface. And it's like, I think I'd like to go to college. I never thought I could. I think I'd like to go to college or graduate school or culinary school or golf school, whatever it is. And it's like, do I dare, like, is it bad recovery if I act on that? So we need the people around us to say, how about a baby step? Let's check out your thinking on this and have that kind of discernment and do that. The other thing I would say, if you have one of these impulses, in less than 5 years, be really careful. That usually it takes a number of years in recovery for this truth of who you are to begin to like nudge, like little seeds are pushing up, they're pushing up, they're pushing up. It's like there's something there. There's something there that says, yes, you should be a teacher. You never thought you could be a teacher.
Right.
What if you took a few classes at the community college? What if you got your bachelor's degree? What if you tried teaching as a volunteer? See how true that is. And then don't try it. And your group will be on their feet cheering for you.
We get confused and overly theological about this thing, but what I'm hearing you say is finding God's will.
Right.
I mean, it's in maybe religious terms,
Right.
but it's also in program terms,
Right.
Praying only for the knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out.
Right.
That's what you're talking about here.
Yeah, not everyone, but I think people are afraid of that the terminology God's will. They're afraid that they're supposed to like sit still and God. I wanted skywriting. I did. I wanted God to like write in the sky. Diane, go to graduate school.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come like that. It comes like one of the things that came to me is jealousy of other people. When people had their master's degree and I could feel this thing in me, it was like, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. And it was like, oh crap, I want to go to graduate school.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. And then to test it, because I think the beginner piece would be, I want to go to graduate school. I'll apply tomorrow. The more mature thing is like, let me talk to some people who have done this. What was it like? Let me get some catalogs or look at some websites. What is it like? What does it cost? What are my finances? How might I do this? Be mature about the way you go about it.
And that's where the guidance comes in and the day at a time comes in.
Yeah.
Nice. You have a short test. You say that you give yourself and you share it with others. And we're talking about the workplace here. Are you able to say one or more of these 6 things on any given day? Share with our listeners what those 6 things are.
I will read these out of the book. And the other thing I have to say is like in my last workplace, I taught they asked me to do the communication training. So, it's kind of sender and receiver and what you expect of communication training. But I began to realize I was talking recovery talk a lot in communication training without ever saying what that was, because the things I would say, this is my daily challenge to myself. Can you say a number of these things on a daily basis? I was wrong. Can you say I was wrong?
That's very hard. I mean, that's where you meet your egotism.
Yes. Yeah. And can you say it? There's the challenge. Can you say it kind of with equanimity? Can you say it without, oh, I'm so terrible. I was wrong. They should fire me. No. Dang, I was wrong.
Which is a reverse form of egotism. I'm the worst thing on the face of the earth.
Exactly.
That's egotistical.
It is. Because I want to be big. I still want to be big.
Yeah. Or I'll be the worst. I'll be the worst of the lot.
I can't be the best.
I can't be the best. I'll be the worst. Yeah.
Right. Number 2, I don't know. To be able to say,
my God, you don't know.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to find that information.
Right.
Yes, I have this education, but I don't know. Or really radically, I don't know what you're saying. Can you explain that to me? Mm-hmm. Which again can only come from a very centered, grounded place where your ego isn't getting in the way. Related is, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. And here's what I'll do. One of the things I learned at workplace, don't just say, I made a mistake. Say, and I think this is what I'll do about it. Biggie, I'm sorry. In all of our lives, at home, at work, can we say, I am really sorry for whatever it is that I did, whatever has happened, what is my part. And then when it is my fault, to say, that's my fault when something happened, especially real challenge, sitting in a staff meeting at work and they're saying, so and such happened, and say, oh, that's my fault. I gave her the wrong information. I posted the wrong thing. I'll own that. And then to say, you're right. Not only am I wrong,
you're right.
You're right. And wait, on any given day, could I say all of them? Not necessarily. But how many can you say on a given day?
Exactly.
Right. Which is it's an ego check.
It's all inflation. It's inflation of one form or another. And getting right-sized is the work that we've got to do.
Right.
And
I think that you said this earlier, but that right-sizing isn't just like down from the top. It's up from the bottom too. It's like instead of being the person who's always like, "Oh, I'm such a screw up. Oh, I'm so terrible." Like they're not fun to work with either.
No, and they're not fun to live with if that's what's going on inside yourself.
Exactly.
If that's you, and it is many of us. People overtask. What's that about?
This is a career changer. Absolutely a career changer. This is a gift from sponsor Barbara. This was the first time I was promoted to a position to supervise other people, right? So they had problems, which meant I had problems, and I wanted to fix the problems. And I wasn't completely seeing the people in front of me. And I was sitting with Barbara and I was telling her all these workplace problems and employee problems and whatever. And she took a pencil and she drew a line, and almost like you'd make a fraction, she wrote the word people. And she drew this line with the word task underneath. And she said, "This is people over task. That's your formula." And I was like, I don't get it. What is that? And she said, you have a task, you have a problem. She said, before you hear about the task or look at the task, look at the person. There's a human being in front of you. Deal with them, who they are, how they feel about this thing. The task will resolve. Now, I didn't believe that at first because I wanted to be good and I wanted to be efficient. Like, we got to go do the task, get the task, fix the thing. And it was like, that works for 5 minutes or 1 week, right? And then there's another task, there's another problem because you never dealt with the human being in front of you. And because people over task is slower. You have to listen. One place we had a lot of volunteers, and they were older people, older than I am now. And so I got to say in that location, the employees were like, "Oh my God, we have to listen to them. They want to talk. They want to do this. They want to show me pictures of their grandchildren." It was like, that's our job. Our job is listen to their weekend and look at their grandchildren's stories and help them feel okay with this organization, and the work will get done. You're going to need to give them instructions and all those kinds of things, but see the person in front of you. And that truly was so radical to me because I was very focused on. I thought my value was the task. I'm going to get so many of them done. I'm going to get so many of them done perfectly. And to shift to raise my focus to people over tasks. And I'd do it, it would work in certain situations. And then I learned, like, I was in a meeting with a bunch of people and we all have our agenda in front of us, old days, our paper agenda. I would write that little formula. I would write P in a little line, like a fraction, over T, so that when stuff was coming up in the meeting, instead of trying to solve the problem, jump in, I know how to fix that problem. I would think, what's going on with that person? Why are they upset about the task? Why are they proud of the task? What is going on? Address the person before you address the task. Radical. Thank you, Barbara.
We're recovering bulldozers. Boom.
Right.
Push our way through.
Right. And we kind of grow up. I mean, I think it is the truth of the workplace. We could do a lot more training on these kinds of principles in the workplace. We teach people lots of task skills as opposed to people skills. And that would be a really, really good gift.
Right. I want to move on to the next chapter. I did want to cover 2 in this episode. And the next one is on, it's a tough subject, aging, dying, and death. And since you're aiming largely to an audience of women with your book, women in long-term recovery particularly, you say you needed especially to include these subjects. Why was that?
I think especially for women, because the statistic, which still holds to this day, 80% of caregiving is done by women. Not to discount the caregiving that men are doing in certain and my husband was the caregiver for his mother for a long time. But it partly cultural, partly habit. It falls to women as mothers and sisters and aunts and to take care of their parents because they've also taken care of children, and so those two skill sets get merged, and they do that, and they're high costs in that caregiving field. High health costs, money costs, job costs. Workplaces are still not great about acknowledging the caregiving that is going on among their employees. I always say to people when employees or coworkers are complaining about their coworkers, she's on personal calls all the time. She's always taking her cell phone and going in the corridor. 90% of those phone calls are caregiving calls. They're calling their loved one. They're calling the doctor. They're making the physical therapy appointment. Mm-hmm. That's taking them out of their workday. It's affecting their mood, their energy, their health, and their coworkers are resentful. It's a dynamic that workplaces absolutely need to address and engage. And it affects women so much. So
much more than men.
Yes, absolutely. MetLife, the interesting thing, MetLife, the insurance, well, they have a reason. Now we know they have a reason to study this. They have been studying caregiving for 50 years. And so they know who's doing the caregiving, exactly what kind of tasks they're doing. They know the difference between in-person caregiving, long-distance caregiving. It's fascinating to see this kind of hidden thing. And now here, women in recovery, here's a double whammy, right? Maybe before recovery, I wasn't so good with my family. We've heard these stories, right? I wasn't there for my aunt when she had cancer. And now my mother does. I'm going to make up for it. I wasn't there for one parent. I'm going to make up for it by being there for this parent. And so they're doing double duty because they're trying to fix themselves as well as be of service, right? Is it taking them out of meetings? Is it taking them out of their job? Is it taking them out of time with sponsees? Is it taking them out of their the energy that they need for their new spiritual life?
Yeah.
And one thing I just thought of it. One of the things, because we're talking about spiritual matters, is we forget to include spirituality in caregiving. We treat it like a bunch of tasks that need to be done for a loved one. And wouldn't it be fascinating to teach two-way prayer to caregivers? Is this the task I need to do today? Can someone else do it? Do I need to drive 300 miles this weekend? Should I let it sit for a minute? That would really be a radical practice, I think.
How about if we included it in our politics?
Whoa! Oh, now you're being crazy, man.
Exactly. Well, but that was the thing.
Yeah.
Was these principles that underlie Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
The Oxford group wanted to bring them into the world. And Wilson was saying, the hell with the world. I'm only interested in the drunks.
Right.
So we're practicing these principles, but we're not, I don't think, doing, we're not reflecting them as like you're saying, in the workplace, in our politics,
right.
in our religious organizations, right. In our communities. Right. They need to go beyond.
There is a place, again, not early in recovery, but later in recovery. Loads of us with long-term recovery can bring this principle into our community.
Exactly.
Political, economic, whatever, and say, what is mine to do here? Separate from political parties. How can I make this community safer, healthier? Is there something you want me to do?
Right. I'm going to skip over Kubler-Ross for the sake of time. Most of us are pretty familiar with that. Although you did say there was one thing you wanted to share in regard to her death and dying work.
Yeah, and I think that for many of us who have learned the Kubler-Ross stages of dying from a magazine article or something like that, they appear like a monopoly board. I go from here to here to here to here, and then acceptance. Whoo, I'm all done. She later wrote she was so sorry that she gave the impression that they were distinct steps. We went through each one in order. That you go back and forth, you move through them. Acceptance happens early and middle and late, and anger can come later. And that was very freeing to learn that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And And the same thing with the steps. I mean, I think we go deeper and deeper into them as we go on.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another subject. I want to talk about joy because that one kind of came out of left field. Here we talking about death, dying, and all this sort of stuff, and you inject joy into it. What are you getting at there?
Because for me, this is a firsthand experience, and it came out of left field. I am the survivor of my family. So all of my parents died. All of my siblings died. Some nieces and nephews have died. Various illnesses in our family.
Right.
And I remember, but especially when my brothers, who were closest in age, they were my playmates, my co-conspirators when I was growing up. When they died, the grief was so hard and so heavy. And I remember people around me saying, like, you should take this pill and you should do this thing. And what they wanted to do was squish me down. And I had the wisdom, maybe the glimmer thought of like, I will let this grief happen. And when it did, I always say I was cracked open. And when it cracked me open, there was joy. There was joy for my brothers. There was joy for my life. There was joy that I was surviving. I would not have felt that joy if I hadn't gone all the way into that grief. You know, and it's not easy. There's no platitude in there whatsoever. But hiding in there, and that's the difference between happiness and joy. Nobody's happy.
Right.
Joy can occur in hard times and with difficult things.
Yeah, even in death.
Even in death. Yeah.
Even in death. Well, I mean, we try to get at this. You know, we talk about a celebration of life.
Right.
I mean, that's healthy. And I've done a lot of funerals. There's a lot of laughter and joy.
Yeah.
That if it's done right, you know, that you're going to get in touch with, and gratitude and things of that nature that we tend to get lost if we just focus on the negative, which we're prone to do.
Right.
Nice. Yeah. You're a worrier. You're a recovering worrier, as am I. Happiness is finding the next thing to worry about, you know. And you say, in spite of all your worrying, you can never be fully prepared. And how does that relate to death and dying?
I come by my worrying, honestly. I mean, I grew up as a kid with a very dysfunctional family. So I was treated, what if my mother is not well? What if she's angry when I get home from school? What if this happens? What if that happens? And that became a habit that I carried all through my life. Relationship, every job, what if?
Right.
Finally realizing you're worried, what if this happens? And if something difficult's going to happen, it's coming from left anyway, right? So I had the false belief, as many of us do, that if I do enough what ifing, I'll be prepared. Well, you know what? We're not prepared.
You're never prepared.
The only thing, here we are, the only thing that is going to prepare us is to have somewhat of a decent spiritual life, some hands that will catch us or guide us, not fix us and save us, but catch us and guide us and speak to us. That's the only thing we can count on and hope for. But to this day, my husband's going on a trip this week, and I do, I'll do, what if he misses his plane? What if his plane crashes? I mean, I'll just start down the old path. And then I have to say, I'll be okay. I might not like whatever could possibly happen, but it would be okay. But we saw this in big ways. I know you're in Texas, and, all of the world is watching what has happened in Texas with the terrible floods and the loss of life and the loss of those girls, and nothing. You think of those families. There's the worst what if.
Yeah, they got swept away tue.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly.
They did.
And I think this is probably the point. It's the unexpectedness. It's we're going to send the kids to camp.
A lovely
and it's
thing.
such a so we go back in our minds to the happy times, perhaps when we did have a camp experience.
Yeah.
And now, boom, it's totally turned.
Right. And we imagine young people suffering, and we're devastated by that.
Yeah, the old people, well, what the hell? They had a good life, What the hell? Let them go, But the young, it just calls it all into question.
Right. And one thing that has gone through my head, because statistics will tell us this, of the people affected, of the families affected, there are people in recovery in that group, in this demographic. And to pray that they are okay, to pray that their program will help them somehow in this, and their people will help them in this.
See, this is one of the blessings of recovery. We've had these lessons forced upon us. My sponsor, first sponsor, they're always so brilliant because we know nothing.
Yes, they are.
That's why they're so brilliant, But he said, he imagined like there was an anvil hanging over his head. And what that anvil was representative of was, you will learn these spiritual principles or else, boom, down it's going to come.
Right.
And I think that's the position we are in. We're not so holy and wonderful. We better learn these things or we're going to die.
Yeah. Right. And like, do you want it to be an anvil or a shoe or a pillow? Because something's going to drop. But what are you prepared for?
Yeah.
What is your spiritual life?
I go for the anvil. I'm a warrior. Pillows I can handle, anvils. Oh, my God. All right. You describe yourself as a woman who is part of what you call the sandwich generation. What do you mean by that phrase?
So in caregiving, the sandwich generation, and this is a boomer thing, right? It's demographic, is they are on one side, they're taking care of children, but on the other side, they're taking care of their parents, because now longevity has given us parents living longer, so they're still around and need care. And our healthcare situation is they need care. Our children need it.
Diapers at both ends.
For everybody, right. And so the image that I have is you're sitting at the kitchen table paying bills. You're writing one check for daycare. You're writing one check for nursing care, right? And you're the jam, literally, in that. You're squished.
And if you're a woman, it's your job.
It's primarily your job.
Primarily your job. Better said, yes,
right.
Primarily.
So there's your stress, right? And one of the things, this is constant on social media, is joking about drinking when you are in that situation. It's wine o'clock. It's mommy's wine o'clock. Mommy's sleep is Facebook and a glass of wine. Funny, not funny, right?
Right.
Maybe for a few women, that's funny because they drink a glass of wine a week. But for the woman who's having 3 glasses every night to deal with this stress, writing those checks, trouble's coming. Trouble isn't already here. Trouble's coming. And it's not going to help either side.
Or out comes the ice cream.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm going to stay on my phone for the rest of the night in school.
I'm going to check out.
Yes.
Right.
I'll find a way.
Yeah, this awareness stuff is not easy.
No, it's not. It's not fun. We need laughter in that day.
Oh, you got to laugh at it. All right. Now you mentioned the Metropolitan Life Insurance studies. You put some statistics in the book. I wonder if you could share 3 or 4 of those big ones with us as they relate to women.
Yeah. So this is there, and MetLife. If anybody goes to the MetLife website and just clicks on caregiving, they have the minute-by-minute research and stats. But here's the thing: more than 75% of all caregivers are women. Now that's 80%. The average caregiver, female, 46 years old, married and working outside the home. And now she's dealing with daycare and nursing care stress. Here's the effect in the workplace, though. 33% of caregivers had to decrease their work hours. So they had to go to their boss or HR and say, I'd like to work less hours. Now, in most workplaces, that's not, some people might say yes, they know they need to say yes. But that's not going to help your promotion, right? That's not going to help your resume.
Right.
29% passed up a promotion or training.
Because they don't have the time.
They don't have the time, the energy. They can't imagine it. And, and a lot of times promotion means a job that involves travel. Well, you can't do that when you're a caregiver.
Yeah.
20% went from full-time to part-time. 20% quit their jobs. So imagine the financial impact on a family, and 13% retired early, which on the one hand, it might sound like a little freedom, but most people can't afford to retire, let alone retire early.
Right. And if you're poor, magnify those statistics.
Exactly. I always say that we're usually addressing things like this as a middle-class person, but if this is a woman who is working at Dunkin' Donuts, how is she going to make all those phone calls to the doctor and the PT?
Right.
And oh my goodness, she's not. She's going to cry in the ladies' room. 54% of caregivers developed a chronic health condition like cardiac disease or diabetes. So the illness of the other person begins to impact the caregiver, and 52% exhibited symptoms of depression. No surprise there. I can't do it. I can't do it all. I'm so depressed. This is my life. How am I going to get through this?
Mm-hmm.
So you tie that to the temptation to use substances. It's high. It's very, very high. The other thing that's tricky that I've learned over the years, if you are doing like in person, you're caring for someone in your home, or your mother-in-law lives down the street and you're going to care for her, guess what? Her medications are in that house. And today we know what those medications are, right? They're the diazepines, they're Valium, they're painkillers, they're opioids. Mm-hmm. So it's very tempting to get yourself in trouble when you're a caregiver under a lot of stress.
Yeah. Tough to be a woman.
It is. There's great joy in it, but it's right now
great joy.
In our culture. It's not even.
No, we don't honor it. Family leave, it gets laughed at.
Right.
In our culture. Other cultures, it's much more honored and seen as necessary.
Right.
We're workaholics.
Right. And I watch these younger couples making really hard decisions for one of the parents to stay home in the first year of a baby's life, and the financial impact to them. They can't buy their house for a couple of years. They can't afford anything else, even if they can barely swing it by. So what that does to their dreams and their hopes too.
Have you read Ernest Becker's book, Denial of Death?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a wonderful book. Recommended highly. I'll put it in the show notes.
Oh, good.
See, we're in denial about death. It's just like we're in denial about alcoholism and drug addiction and all the other addictions.
Right.
We're in denial about our own deaths.
Right. I often say, I still hear people say, people my age, people of all ages, they'll say, we're talking about someone else's illness or death, and they'll say, well, if I knew that I was going to die, I would. And I'll say,
right.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know yet.
No. I don't know that we intentionally do this, but this is the way the ego operates.
Right.
Death is going to happen to you. It ain't going to happen to me.
That's right. I'll outlive this.
We are crazy, recovering crazies. So, okay, we've gone a little bit over, but we are addicts, so that is what we do.
All right.
And it's okay. It's quite okay. We're not even wrong. We just own it that we did. So, Diane, once again, this was enlightening, helpful, and above all, fun.
It was terrific.
You gotta enjoy these things, or it ain't worth doing. So I hope you all out there listening were able to take something from what we were sharing today. Hope it was helpful for you. If it was, again, tell a friend, let them know there's help out there. So thank you for listening, Diane. I'll see you next week. Thank you guys, and keep coming back.
Phil, thank you.